start the meeting.
Okay guys, we got a special call meeting here for pension tonight. We're going to look at some differences between a target benefit plan versus a DC plan. And I am the chair of the pension plan, but I'm going to relinquish my chair tonight and have our former chair, Brian Zderlich, present with Greg Heisey to his left. Greg Heisey is an actuary with George & Bell, and he's put this presentation and a package together. We've been working on this for a better part of 2 years. And for those of you that don't know, Daniel Sember, he's our pension advisor, and we've got meetings slated to go throughout the whole province and present this information to all the membership regarding this. And then at the end of the presentations, we're going to have a membership vote go out to see on the conversion if you guys are going to vote in favor or if you want to continue with your DC plan. So this is something that we feel is a benefit to all of you as members and providing you know, a lifelong pension for your service. Okay. But before we start that, I would like everybody to stand and remove their hats. Brother Ken Saunier passed away yesterday, and we're just going to observe a moment of silence before we get into the meeting. Rest in peace.
Thank you. I'm going to start off for the benefit of members that aren't here that might watch the video, and thank Greg and Daniel for taking the time out to come and present their presentations. Today is January the 16th, and we're having a special call meeting to deal with pensions. So there's a lot of new young people that have joined the union over the last 10 years. We started the plan in 2007, so I'm going to go back in a little bit of history to show you and explain to you how we got to this point. So, as you're aware, over the last 18 months, the pension plan trustees have been reporting to the membership about their ongoing investigation of converting our existing direct contribution pension plan to the target benefit pension plan. As trustees, they have a fiduciary duty to represent the pension plan members to their best ability. And this fiduciary duty has led them to seek out professional assistance in determining whether the direct contribution pension plan is presently in the best interest of the plan members. In order to fully understand this process, we will need to go back in history and explain how and why in 2007 the membership chose a direct contribution plan over the defined benefit plan. First of all, prior to 2007, Millwright Local 2736 participated in the BC Provincial Council of Carpenters pension plan. This was due to the fact that since our local charter in 1956, we were a local of the BC Provincial Council of Carpenters. Not only did we participate in the pension, health, and welfare plans, we were also connected to the BC Provincial Council of Carpenters Standard Agreement as an addendum. So until the year 2000, when we were able to achieve our own standalone Millwrights Standard Agreement, we were subject to the majoritarian will of 26 other carpenter locals. As you may or may not be aware, the BC Provincial Council of Carpenters pension plan ran into funding problems in 2003. This was due mainly to the fact that prior to 2003, there was no legislation, provincial legislation, to oversee pension plans in the province of British Columbia. When legislation was introduced in 2003, all pension plans in BC were subject to performance tests. One of the performance tests, the solvency test, which mandated that a snapshot of a pension plan be taken, and if during that snapshot the markets were down and the pension plan was underperforming, cuts and other measures would have to happen until the regulators felt that the plan recovered and was fully funded. At the same time, in 2003, our local, we were having issues with ongoing battle between the International and the BC Provincial Council of Carpenters. Millwright Local 2736 was one of the locals opposing the mandatory bylaws being imposed by the International. Over the next couple of years, many court cases took place to try and resolve the imposition. During those years, the BC Provincial Council of Carpenters joined forces with CEP and formed CMAW. CMAW was formed in order to be able to get out of the International Union. However, as we were to find out later, there were ulterior motives that made the Millwrights have a change of heart. In 2006, CMAW and the BC Provincial Council of Carpenters created a new constitution. They required that all locals have to sign over their certifications, and all certifications would be held under this new entity. Well, after 50 years, the Millwrights were finally able to achieve our own standard agreement and our own certifications. We were not about to go back in time and have others control our destiny. Pressures were put on Local 2736, as we still had some contractors that were being held by the carpenters. We told them to sign them back over to us or we will raid ourselves out. The carpenters realized that we were capable of achieving this and signed over all of the certifications to us. But then they said if Millwright Local 2736 is not joining the new constitution, that we would no longer be able to participate in their pension and health and welfare plans. This was one way of trying to control us, and they basically kicked us out. By July 2007, virtually overnight, we had to establish a health and welfare plan with the assistance of Blue Cross, who fronted us startup benefits until we could extract all of our hours from the carpenter plan. We also prepared to start a new pension plan overnight. We realized that a DB plan was not the best type of plan to start a new young pension plan. The solvency tests were creating hardships to many plans, and membership chose a direct contribution plan instead at that time. Over the years, many building trades unions have lobbied governments and legislators to revoke solvency tests in regards to multi-employer plans, which are common to construction unions. The solvency test should be utilized for plans that actually do not receive monies on behalf of workers, but are actually considered as capital assets of the employer. And what I mean by that is that when we go to work and the employer contributes to our benefits, it goes directly into account and it's held there for you. And the only losses are if we don't make money or if we do make money. But a lot of corporations, a lot of plants, take instance Ford, that money is not deposited in the worker's account. It's held as part of their capital assets. So if the company goes defunct, you can lose everything, or 10 cents on the dollar, and so forth. So that's why we felt that solvency tests were not a realistic way of looking at our type of plans. As all of the contributions, sorry, I jumped a bit here. So in 2015, the legislators created a new pension plan. Target benefit plan, which does not require or utilize solvency test. Many building trade unions have switched from DB plans to target benefit plans in the last few years. It's been over 10 years now and our plan is doing well, but the trustees have a fiduciary responsibility to ask, can we do better? As part of their fiduciary responsibilities, it is to take pension seminars and training. They have been to many seminars where a lot of knowledgeable professionals have piqued their interest and has led them to this prudent investigation. And that is somewhat of a bit of a history. There's a lot more to say, but we don't have the time. And now I'm going to hand it over to Daniel, and he will give us the presentation, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me here, everybody. So, why are the trustees considering this change to a target benefit plan? I think first you have to, one point to clearly mention, the purpose of a pension plan is to create retirement income. So what is the best way to do that? There's different type of structures that are out there. Brian mentioned a defined benefit plan. We're talking about a target benefit plan. Right now, a defined contribution plan is in place. So there's a variety of different structures. But at the end of the day, contributions to a pension plan are to create retirement income. So the reason they're considering and suggesting to you that they think that this makes sense is that they want to improve the retirement security of the plan for you, the members. A plan like this gives you a better understanding of what you're going to get in retirement. So if you look at this, a target benefit plan provides a more efficient benefit for every dollar of contribution than your existing plan does. If you think about it right now, you guys have individual accounts. You group all those accounts together, you have volume, it creates more efficiency. Volume doesn't always create more efficiency, but in terms of money like this, it does. Your defined contribution plan, which you have right now, it does provide you some flexibility, and by flexibility I mean that you get to choose the investments that your account dollars are invested in, but it does limit your ability to share the risks. And what I mean by risk is risks of investment losses, if you will. That's the risk. You're not going to risk it for gaining, but investment losses and longevity. So with your existing plan, your defined contribution plan, you get to retirement, you then invest that money, you buy an annuity or whatnot, but there is a risk there that you could outlive your money. You could actually outlive your money. That's a significant risk to you. Target benefit plan helps mitigate both the investment risk, fluctuations up and down in the market, plus the risk of outliving your money. Definitely a big benefit, for sure. So let's go just through a few pros and cons of why they're suggesting trustees are that you convert this. And again, remember at the end of the day, really important to remember, purpose of a pension plan, create retirement income. So the pros for doing this are that a target benefit plan at the end of the day is going to pay a predictable retirement income more efficiently than purchasing annuity. And by what I mean by that, right now you're accumulating your money in your accounts, and when you get to age 65 or whenever you retire, you have a choice of how you want to start receiving income. The appropriate comparison to a target benefit plan is to buy an annuity. Okay, so we'll show this comparison a little later. Another pro of converting to converting to the target benefit plan is it allows you to, all of you together, to come together and share risks. What I mentioned, the investment risk, the ups and downs in the market, the longevity risk, the possibility that of you running out of retirement income. It also gives you access to alternative investments. So when you have large pools of money, you can invest in things like directly in real estate, agriculture, infrastructure. Those types of investments, especially direct investments, are not available to individual investors, smaller pools of money. More efficient way of investing, that's all I'm trying to say. All right, those are a couple of the pros. There are some cons. This first one might not necessarily be a con. With a move to the target benefit plan, you as a member can't direct your own individual investments. The assets are all going to be pooled together, and they're going to be invested professionally. Part of my job, to help do that, with the oversight of your trustees. So that actually may be a pro to some members. You don't actually have to make investment decisions, and maybe some of you would rather not. But for those of you that do like that type of control and do want to invest your own funds, you wouldn't have that opportunity. So again, we're listing that possibly as a con. The second con that's there is that assets can't be passed on to future generations, other than maybe a survivor pension or guaranteed payments to a beneficiary. Let me explain that. So right now, you're taking your contributions, right? Your $6.10 for every hour, right, that gets contributed to your existing pension plan account balances, right? Say by the time you're age 65, you have $100,000 in there. Maybe you start converting that into retirement income, you start withdrawing $5,000 a year. Say in 5 years, you meet an unfortunate accident, you die. Let's say there's been no investment gains, there's $75,000 left. That $75,000 could be passed to whoever you've designated as a beneficiary, right? That's how that works. With the target benefit plan, all those monies stay in the pension plan. So when you die, or if you have a joint pension with your spouse, it'll go for either your life or you and your spouse, and then at the end of that, when you die, there are assets to be passed on to anybody. So that's a potential con that's out there. But again, at the end of the day, remember the purpose of the pension plan: create retirement income. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme or anything else like that. It's to create retirement income. One other point to mention is that with both a target benefit plan and a defined contribution plan, pensions aren't guaranteed, right? So, and this is a con for both of them. At the end of the day, benefits may have to be reduced in the future if contributions are not adequate, or if there's a drop in the investment, right? But that's the same that's true for both your existing structure and a target benefit plan, but is a point to be mentioned. On the other side, benefits could also be increased. If you get excellent rates of return, there's more money in the plan, there's going to be more money in the target benefit plan to pay pensions, and also there would be in your existing plan as well. Make sense? All right, those are some of the pros and cons. If I would just take a step back for a minute and just look at a defined contribution versus a target benefit plan, both of these plans have a defined contribution rate. So that $6.10 an hour that's being contributed for every hour that you work to the pension plan, that stays the same, at least for right now. So taking your existing structure, defined contribution, it means there's a defined contribution rate, right? And your benefits at the end of the day are equal to whatever your account balance is at termination or at retirement. You see that in your statements, whether you look online or they're given to you every 3 months, 6 months, each year, whatnot. Balances in that account can increase and decrease with investment gains and losses. And then at retirement, you get a lump sum that can either be used to go and give to an insurer to purchase an annuity, which is going to give you a lifetime of income, or it can be transferred to a locked-in account and you can continue to choose your investments and whatnot and draw money from that. At the end of the day, it doesn't work like an RSP. You can't just cash it all out. It's subject to a legislative minimum and maximum that you can withdraw from it. So that's just a little bit about your existing plan and how that works. With the target benefit plan, you also have that same defined contribution rate. It's currently $6.10 per hour, but instead of an account balance, you actually have a target benefit that's defined by a formula based on a number of pre-existing set of assumptions. Your contributions, $6.10 an hour that you get contributed for every hour you work, they're tested periodically to make sure that they're adequate to provide that targeted benefit that's there. And then after that test is done, the target benefit is either left the same, if there's more money in that account, or in the whole pooled plan together, the benefit could be increased, or if there's not enough money in there, the benefit could be reduced. All right? So kind of a lot of the same risk that you have associated with your current plan. It's just that you're pulling all those assets together, creating a more efficient way of investing and paying out that money, and mitigating investment risk and the risk of outliving your money. So how would this work? There's two parts to consider when looking at how this would work. First of all, is how would it work for your existing balances in your accounts as they stand today? And secondly, how would future contributions work? What kind of pensions would those generate for you? So just looking at your existing account balances, you're going to have a choice to either elect to convert that account balance over to the target benefit plan, or to leave that balance in the existing defined contribution plan. Really, at the end of the day, and this is a really clear point to make, the vote. So when you mark off that ballot, really all you're choosing is whether future contributions starting January 1st, 2021 are going to go to this new target benefit plan. Your existing DC balances, I'm going to show you a little later, it makes sense to convert those, but it's your choice. It's your choice. So with this vote, you're not choosing to say, yes, I want all of my money that I've accumulated right now to go to that target benefit plan. All you're choosing is future contributions to go to that plan, okay? All you're doing in the vote is future contributions, okay? So back to this existing balance that's in that account. If you elect to convert it, your account balance is going to be converted to the target pension plan based on a table of conversion factors. And that's going to depend on how much money's in your account and how old you are. Let me show you how this works. All right. Later in the year, if the membership vote is to yes, we're going to move to this target benefit plan for all future contributions, you'll actually get sent out a statement that's going to show you exactly what's in your account at a particular point in time based on your age, what's your account balance, what pension that would provide you at age 65. This is just going to give you a general idea, okay? So if you look at this age at conversion, we've shown this in 5-year increments. If I was to show every year, we'd have a lot of slides here, right? So just kind of, I'll show you how to do this, and you can ballpark in your mind if you know what's in your account, and we can come to a kind of a close approximation of what you might get. So 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, all the way up to 70. So how this works is you just take your account balance, you divide it by 1,000, you multiply it by the factor in the table, and the result is your monthly pension that your existing balance in your defined contribution account will convert to. That example at the bottom just kind of shows this. So let's assume that a member is age 60, they have $275,000 in their account. We take that $275,000, we divide it by 1,000, that's 275, just take away the 3 zeros, and you can see at age 60 there, I don't have a highlighter here, but if you just move across from 60, you see the conversion factor is 7. So 275 times 7 is $1,925 in monthly pension that would generate for a person from age 65 till they died. All right? Take another example. Say you were 40 years old. It's not up there. You had $100,000 in your account. Take that $100,000, divide by 1,000, that's 100. The conversion factor is 21. 100 times 21 is $2,100. So if you're 40 years old, had $100,000 in that account, and you say, yes, I want to convert that to the target benefit plan, provide you $2,100 per month from age 65 till you died. If you had a spouse, it's a joint survivor pension, it'd be a little bit less, but that gives you a good approximation. All right. That's your existing account balance. That's kind of an overview of a little bit of how that would work. You can choose to transfer that to the target benefit plan. For future contributions, what do future contributions buy you? So the target pension for contributions is determined, it's based on a formula, and it's pretty straightforward. The monthly pension you're going to get is equal to 1% of your total annual contributions. It's a normal pension form, it's a life pension, guaranteed for your life, and your actually payments are guaranteed for 10 years, so if you died in the first 5, the balance of the next 5 will be paid out to whoever your beneficiary is, but it's basically based on a life pension, providing income for the rest of your life. How would that work? $6.10 an hour is your hourly contribution. Let's say you work 2,000 hours. Okay? That's $12,600 in annual contributions. Yes? 1% of that, $126. So 1 year's contributions of $12,600 based on 2,000 hours of work is going to buy you $126 of monthly pension starting at age 65 for the rest of your life. Again, another reason the trustees are recommending this, it provides you with a little more certainty and understanding of what you might get in retirement. All right, let's take a little step back here and just say, forget all about that for a second. Let's just look at the dollars. Let's just look at the dollars and compare what your options are with your existing plan, accumulating money, versus that same pool of money being created, and what would you get paid out with on the target benefit pension plan. So what we've done there is we've shown 4 sets of hours. So if you worked 1,000 hours a year, 1,500 hours a year, 2,000 hours a year, 2,500 hours a year at that $6.10 per hour, okay? So your contributions per month, based on all those hours worked, are in that second column. $510 per month would be contributed to whatever plan, whether it's target benefit or your existing plan. At 1,500 hours, $760 a month. At 2,000 hours, $1,020 per month. 2,500 hours, $1,270 per month. So those are the contributions that would go to whatever structure, whether it's your existing DC plan or the target benefit plan. We assume here that a person's age 40 and that they're going to make these contributions till they're age 65. We've based it on a 4.5% rate of return each and every year. That's not a huge rate of return, but in pension plans, and Greg can back this up as the actuary, 4.5 to 5.5% is what actuaries, it's a range of what they use to calculate future benefits. It's a conservative rate of return, all right? So if we deposited all those monies from a person's age 40 till their age 65, what would that accumulate? The third column shows that. 1,000 hours would have accumulated $282,000 at their age 65. 1,500 hours worked per year for 25 years accumulates $420,000. 2,000 hours for 25 years accumulates $564,000. 2,500 hours worked each and every year for 25 years would accumulate $702,000. So those last 2 columns now compare. If you had accumulated those monies in your existing plan, and you went then at the end of the day and said to an insurer, here's my lump sum of money, what pension could I get on my own? That 4th column there shows what pension you could get on your own based on today's rates. 1,000 hours would get you $1,350 a month. 1,500 hours would get you $2,010. 2,000 hours would get you $2,700. 2,500 hours would get you $3,360. That last column, if those same monies were deposited into the target benefit plan, 1,000 hours would get you $1,530. It's about $200 more per month. Starting at age 65 for the rest of your life. 1,500 hours would get you $2,280. $270 more per month. 2,000 hours would get you $3,060. $300 more per month. 2,500 hours would get you $38.10 per month. No, close to $500 more per month. The percentage there is about 15 to 17% more. So we said before, more efficient way of providing retirement income. Those are the numbers. That's how they work out. So when I said to you that it might make sense, if you're saying yes to this target benefit plan for future contributions, it as well makes sense for your existing balances that are in your account as well. Okay, so those are the numbers. How would this conversion process work? So a membership vote is going to be held, and we'll just give you the dates and whatnot that where everything is going to go to determine whether the members want to proceed with this or whether they don't. And again, all you're voting on is whether you want future contributions starting January 1st, 2021 to go to this plan. All your balances that you have in your existing accounts, you're going to choose that later on in the year. Your choice. You're just voting on future contributions. So the threshold for this vote is 50% plus 1 of the eligible voting membership. All right. Ballots are going to be sent out by the end of February 2020. We have 5 more presentations like this around the province. This presentation will as well be uploaded onto the website so that people can look at it that weren't here. Hard copies of the presentation will be sent out as well. Those ballots that are going to be sent out at the end of February, they're going to be due back in the Union office by April 13th of this year. And then, assuming approval, there's going to be 4 newsletters that are going to be sent out. First newsletter is going to give you the result of the vote and the intention to convert. If the vote is no, that's it, stops there. If the vote is yes, newsletter 2 is in July, is going to give you the details of your current plan versus the target benefit plan, just to refresh everybody's memory. Newsletter 3, which is going to be sent out in September, is going to give an explanation of the pension post-conversion. It's going to give you additional target benefit details. It's going to give you details of the balance that's in your account and what that would purchase in retirement income at age 65, so you can make another informed choice. Do I want to transfer my existing balance to this plan? Humbly suggest the answer is yes to that, but it's going to be your choice. And newsletter 4 in November is going to give a further description of the target benefit design and a reminder of you to say, you need to tell us, do you want to convert your existing account balances to the plan or not? Okay? So the plan actuaries, Craig Heisey from George & Bell, are going to prepare conversion statements with election forms, which will be distributed in early September. And then those election forms, and by election forms, again, I just mean your choice as to whether you want to transfer those funds to this plan or not, is going to be due back December 11th. And then assuming that yes vote, the plan would convert to the target benefit plan as of December 31st of this year. And future contributions would start being deposited to that plan January 1st of next year. So that's an overview of what the trustees are suggesting and recommending that you do. Any questions?
There's got to be questions. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So will there be an annual or a twice annual dish out of, like, say where we're at on this new program if we elect it? Like when I was a pile driver, I believe we were under the same thing as what everybody here is talking about converting to. And every year we get a statement saying, here's your hours worked, which we check. They tell you to check and make sure the companies contributed the right amount. And it would tell you, okay, if you retired at 55, 60, or 65, this is how much you would get in retirement. Is that kind of the same thing that would happen?
Usually, yeah, legislation requires that you'll, it's the first time I've spoken, see Daniel doesn't even need me. Just a pretty face tonight.
Yeah.
Legislation requires that you get that statement once a year.
Okay.
And so you would get that once a year, and it's going to give you all that information you just outlined. I'm the investment consultant on the pile drivers plan, so I know exactly how that.
I know
runs.
how that
Yeah.
one runs, and if that's what.
This plan would be exactly the same type of plan as the pile drivers plan.
You got mural and then I got. Miro, you-
Yeah, I just question, Daniel, or sorry, Greg, I know you sit on an actuary for a few different target benefit plans, and how is the target benefit plans been performing over the last, I don't know, is it 10 years, 8 years that they've been out there?
So I'm the actuary on 12 right now. There's 35 in BC, so almost a third. So, and they're pretty much all construction trades. You guys could name them all off. They only created this structure, Brian in his intro, they only created this structure to get rid of solvency because it was just a garbage test in 2015. So there's been 4 years under this target benefit regime, so to speak, with no solvency test. And a lot of these plans were under major pressure before this change in legislation. Since then, not one of those 12 plans has reduced benefits since the change. And half of them have actually been able to now grant some benefit improvements. So the hope is that when we set this up, that we fully expect we'll be able to provide the targeted pension. The bonus is we might be able to even do better, in which case that's when you get things like past service pension increases and increases to retirees, et cetera, et cetera. That's the hope, that's not the promise. The promise is to provide this target. But yeah, I would just say half of the plans I work on have been able to deliver anywhere from a 3 to a 10% pension increase.
What are we investing in? Like, what is the money tied up into at this point?
Sure. Right now, probably 95% of the members are choosing your target date default options. Probably about 50% sitting in fixed income, 50% in some equities, Canadian, US equities. It's a typical kind of portfolio for a pension plan, but each individual member is choosing that. And when I say 95% of the members are doing that, it's probably because that's the default fund. They're not making a choice. So this move to this and having, investment council do this with the oversight of the trustees is not a big stretch.
Okay, so when you say, you know how we have low, moderate, and high risk?
Yes.
How does that work exactly? Like, this is where I'm a little bit confused about, is
Sure.
like, I know myself, I'm in a moderate right now.
Sure.
So how is that gonna benefit me from going into a moderate when maybe I should be going high, but let's say the whole, like the monies are just staying at a even playing field?
Yeah, so, I mean, again, that choice is then gonna be removed from you. So you choose to move your existing account balance over to this, now it's gonna be invested as a whole. You're not choosing low, moderate, aggressive.
Okay.
You don't have
So
any
that
choice.
cancels out
That
then?
cancels that out
Okay.
completely. Everybody's in the same boat.
I got you then.
Everybody's in the boat. Yes, sir.
I know Miro had his hand up first. So
Go ahead.
So just to kind of further go on what you're saying is it, when you get in a pooled fund like this, Greg sits down with investment managers that he's hired to be our actuary. He looks at everybody's average age over a lifetime, how many members are 20, how many members are 21. He does a whole mathematical grid and then sets the asset mix to reflect how much of the young is supporting the older mix.
Okay, I got it.
So it's a calculation that he's been paid big money to come up with and not fail on.
One of the ways you can think about it is, let's say you're moderate, you young guys here in the front, you should be aggressive. Maybe I'll pick on Joe in the back, he should be conservative. We look at every single one of you and figure out the blend, and then you invest based on the blend of ages
Okay.
and how old everyone is. And so everyone in the pool is invested the same way.
Makes sense.
So
Okay, I'm gonna try to keep notes. Okay, you, Peter, and then Mike. Okay, great.
So, is there a trustees board like the pile drivers where we have a group of guys that go and get all that information? Is it the same? Because I think there's a different I don't know if it's the same.
Could the trustees of the plan that are here stand up today, please?
Okay.
That's your trustees, and look behind, right here.
So
okay?
they get all of that, no, they get all the,
Yes.
they get the books
Thank
and
you.
books, because I know a guy who did it for the pile drivers, and I mean, he had to read like this much to understand exactly what was going on
Yes.
with the plan to help make choices, like educated choices,
Yeah.
on where you guys were going next. And
You know,
that's-
you can sort of think about like the role of these guys, the board, isn't actually changing that much. I mean, they're still there. Right now, they're there to do the best for you. They work with Daniel to run this defined contribution plan. There's not really any difference. They're gonna work with Daniel and me and the administrator to run the target benefit plan. So, and their goal, you know, they operate as fiduciaries. Fiduciary means that they're responsible for other people's money and they have to take care with it. And there's really no difference between the DC and the target benefit in that regard.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Just on that, by reading all those big books and stuff, is the reason that we came to you.
Yeah.
To say, I think there might be a better way, right?
No, I just
There's a
wanted
lot
to
of
make sure that there was a lot of,
Yeah.
I understand that we're
Okay.
going pretty well exactly to the same program.
Okay, I got Peter and then Mike.
So I wanted to piggyback off the topic that Matt and Miro were talking about. So, you know, dealing with the membership on a daily basis, the most common question I've been asked now, since everybody knows that this is happening, and you know, most of the younger guys are asking this, it's like, so now my pension's gonna be based on how many years served. What about a guy who came in and did his apprenticeship at 40 and blah, blah, blah? But I'm glad you guys explained that it's pooled and you guys do take into account ages, right? Because a lot of people don't think that. A lot of people think, well, if I came in, let's say from the pile drivers at an older age, I'm only gonna get a pension from this age. And I've been getting that a lot, right? So.
The one thing I would say to that is, it's actually not that different from the DC plan. I mean, if you come in from the pile
Well,
drivers at an
exactly,
older
yes.
age, you just
Yes.
have a shorter period of time
Exactly,
to have
yeah.
those
No,
contributions
for sure.
accumulate for you. So it's actually not that different.
No, it's not at all, right?
It-
I just wanna get it on video.
Yeah.
So before I recognize Mike, I just want to say something, because Matt's pointed my, one of the questions that was posed to me at, in Las Vegas at the International, when we had our members down there, was from one of our members about the pension plan. And he posed this question that made me really think, are we doing the best thing? And his question was to me, shouldn't the union be representing every member fairly, and that every member at the end of the day should have the equal? And I missed his point, and then he kind of reiterated it, and then I got it. So what he was saying to me is that you could have one member that's in moderate and doesn't touch it and leaves it till he's 65, and then another member that's really active and does something with this, yet they work the same amount of hours, right? And at the end of their retirement, or at the beginning of their retirement, one ends up with $3,500 a month and the other one ends up with $1,500, because he didn't go and judicially change and account for the differences that happen in pension plans. And that is, when you look at it, what is a union? A union is supposed to be there equally for every one of you guys, as much as possible that you can, right? And that was one of the things that really piqued my interest. Are we really doing the right thing? Because if we're not informing members to change accordingly, and it's hard in the DC plan to phone every member and say, look, you're not really where you should be. In this portfolio with the target benefit, there's a much greater chance that we're gonna be able to cater to everybody at a pretty even level. And that's one of the reasons.
I love that example, and to pick up, can you go back to your cons and pros slides? Let's take what Brian just talked about and give another example of it, because I actually call it something called, in DC plans you get something called the lottery effect. The lottery effect depends on when you started your career and ended your career. So for those of us in the room who remember the year 2008, which was the worst return for balanced funds in history, they had a negative 15% return that year. You think about if you turned 65 that year and you had a DC plan and you wanted to take your money and you wanted an income and you had to take your $300,000 balance, which was $400,000 a few months earlier, and you had to go and buy an annuity with it. You lost the lottery. versus someone who had maybe retired 2 or 3 years earlier and had their $400,000 balance and took and bought an annuity with it. So those are the kinds of things, all the inequities you get with a defined contribution plan. Now, target benefit plans, they lost money just like defined contribution plans in 2008. But the members who retired that year didn't see a 15% drop in their pension. In fact, I think I only had one plan that had to reduce benefits by 2% in the year 2014. So the target benefit smooths out. It smooths out, like from a generation to generation, it smooths out those kind of market effects. And you don't have a lottery effect. You're all treated equal and you all get this same formula. And if we adjust the formula up or down, we do it evenly across everyone. So it's not just individuals who get hit by, they happen to retire at the worst possible time.
Shared risk.
That's the whole concept that Daniel talked about with the sharing the risk amongst you. And another great example of it is the guy who lives to 100 years old versus the guy who lives to age 67. You know, if you live to 100 years old and all you had was a defined contribution plan, you probably have run out of money. But the way that this plan works is we treat everyone equally. If you happen to live to 100, you're going to get that pension going on till 100.
Marcel.
That was,
Oh, sorry, Mike. I had Mike, and then, sorry, Marcel.
Well, that was sort of my question because, like you were saying earlier, a guy who starts at 40, 45, whatever, he might want to choose a high risk to get the most bang for his buck in his pension plan. But my question was going to be, what if we go, like the world's in a fragile state with everything that's going on, if we go into another recession and we have a pooled plan of whatever, $20, $25 million, and we get a big hit on that, if I'm ready to retire within the next, say, 5 years, how does that affect me? And then compared to, say I'm 60 to 65, compared to a 25-year-old at the same time, right?
Yeah, the whole point is that smoothing, that you aren't, where in a defined contribution plan, if your account balance went down by 20%, like your pension has gone down by 20%.
Yeah.
That's not the case. Like if we take a hit in the target benefit plan, we can recover. We can still pay the pensions we're paying, and we can take time to recover because it's built in with this buffer, and you guys will learn more about this buffer when we start sending out the newsletters. But we're planning for those kinds of events, and we're building a buffer in so that we can withstand those kinds of events.
It would be easier to do that with a pool of money
Yes.
as opposed to each individual
Exactly.
trying to bounce back from that.
Exactly. Like even if you just look at mortality, if you guys each run your own defined contribution plan and you want to make sure you have enough to last your entire life, no one here knows when they're going to die. I'm an actuary, and no one knows when they're going to die. They have no idea. So you want to be safe. So in a defined contribution plan, you actually have to save a little more. Like, let's say you live to life expectancy for males right now is 86. If you're in a defined contribution plan, you could live longer than that. So you got to plan a few extra years, right? Maybe you got to save enough so you live to 90. One of the efficiencies that you get with the target benefit plan, we don't have to assume that everyone lives to 90. Maybe we only have to assume you live to 87 because we're a big group that we're looking at. We're not looking at one person. Very easy for you to live, one person to live 5 years longer than I expect. Very difficult for 200 of you to live 5 years longer than I expect. It's the law of averages, right? Much easier to predict with averages than looking at each of you individually.
Before I recognize, I just want to give you an example. Miro and I were in Ontario 211, 210. The Ontario Millwrights at that time had $750 million in their pension plan. When we came there, the hit was still going from 208, and they lost, what, 50 million that year?
Yeah.
We came back the next year because we have annual general meetings. They recovered plus gained, I don't know how much.
I think they recovered 75 million on top of the 50 million, so
That
they
they
went
lost.
up 125 million.
So-
Because what happens when
That's
things
exactly
drop, you buy,
You buy.
and things go back up.
That
Yeah.
So
that's an example that we've lived through that, yeah, that's a big hit. When you think you lost $50 million, my God, people jump off roofs, right?
Yeah.
But they were able to recover plus another 75,000. So there's examples out there that it works. Okay, I had Marcel, and then I'm gonna go to you, Mike.
So is it fair to say that because every member works a different amount of hours, that you basically have a multiplier by the hour?
Yeah.
And just based on your hours is what you're gonna get paid out? So really, that multiplier, and then when you look at your account, it's converted into dollars.
And I just want to state this, like, I know pile drivers who have pensions that are like.
Millwright.
I know, but I want to set this out so you guys understand this. I know pile drivers who are in a state to retire, and they're getting I think it's 6,000 a month or 5,400 a month. So you gotta look at, like, when you look over a lifetime, we're looking at small numbers here. That's not to say that you can't look at bigger numbers with this type of system, right?
We're a very young plan, like a $20
No,
million
I
plan
understand, but I'm
is-
just saying, like,
But it's a
over the
start.
long term for some of these younger guys, you can look at pensions that are
Gonna be-
reasonable or good.
The key
or
thing
even
that
better,
the key
right?
thing that you guys have is you got a pretty, like, these guys, you got a pretty healthy contribution rate at $6.10 an hour.
Yeah.
Like, I have some target benefit plans I'm the actuary on, and they have not been able to get contribution rates up that high. Like, there's one I work on where I think the employer rate is maybe $2.75 an hour. So you're already in a good spot that, regardless of what kind of plan you're in, if there's $6.10 an hour going in, it's a hell of a lot better than $2.75 an hour. So you're starting to almost from a position of strength in that you've got a pretty nice hourly contribution rate.
Okay, Adam, thank you.
I was wondering how the 95% of the members that don't change their plans do compared to the 5% that actually do use Daniel and they do make moves on their plan. What do they make a year in interest compared to the 95%?
Yeah, you know, actually, I can't answer that question. I'd have to look back and see. I can tell you what the 95% have done over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, it's been right between that 4 and 6%.
Yeah, because if we use you, well, and we actually do something, we can do a lot better than 5%. I know I've used you and I've done a lot better than 5%. So that's something to consider.
That brings it right to the point I was saying, is that you're gonna be doing okay. But the other 95% that are really into it for whatever reason are not, right? And
We
that's
have
what,
and do, right? People don't use them. That's,
well, that's the problem, but
Yeah.
if we convert, then we're gonna be using them, right? That's the whole point of it, Adam.
The other thing, and Daniel mentioned it in the slide there, is most of the assets right now in the DC plan are stocks and bonds. Interest rates are at 2.5%, which means that the bonds, if you hold those all the way through to maturity, the expected return on bonds now is 2 to 3%. That's the best you're gonna do. And with the target benefit plan, you'll bounce up and down on stocks, and maybe you get years like last year where Canadian equities were 24%. That's not the same, you know, they were down the year prior, so a lot more volatile. But the key thing with target benefit plan is we'll be able to invest in more than just stocks and bonds. We'll be able to invest in some things that are gonna do better than just their bond-like, but we're gonna do better than 2 or 3%.
like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Hopefully not the Toronto.
Adam, think about it. When real estate took off in Vancouver, we didn't have the opportunity under the DCB to buy into that. Had we done that, we might have gained, I don't know, 15–20% maybe, right? That's the other issue, is that there's a lot more portfolio to choose from.
I'll give you an example of an investment that some of these target benefit plans I work on, construction trades, have been able to invest in the last few years. Their Ontario Labourers was selling off 3 courthouses, 3 correctional facilities, and 3 hospitals. And we got 7 plans together to buy about $150 million worth of those assets. And we hired a manager, and you gotta make sure the lights go on in the hospital in the morning, the air con works, all that kind of stuff. But the return, their 30-year, the government is contracted with each of those correctional facilities, hospitals, courthouses, and for 30 years. So you manage it, you get Ontario government-backed cash flows, and the rate of return on those 9 investments is gonna be 6.3% per year. With government-backed cash flows. If you invested in a Government of Ontario bond, you would only get 2.5. So those are the kinds of investments that you can consider with this kind of plan that just, you can't do it within a DC plan. So if you think interest rates are gonna be low for a long period of time, you wanna set yourself up for success just by having flexibility to invest in other things.
Okay, anybody else? One last time? One more time? Does anybody got anything else? You guys wanna close off with anything? or-
We covered most of it.
We did. Okay, thank you guys for coming, and thank you for you guys.